What's going on, guys? Sorry for being late. Normally I'm at 9. It's 9:30 today, but welcome to another episode of Second Guessing with Stressin'. I'm your host, Garrett Williams, aka Texans commenter. And we've made it, man. We're at week one. Finally. We're finally here. It feels like it's been a long time coming. It's like almost surreal, honestly. Like you kind of have to pinch yourself. Like, is there really gonna be football on Sunday? So I'm sure y'all like me. I'm super hyped, man. Like I really started diving into the matchup the past couple days, and I've been working on an article which I'll release tomorrow, but I'll probably cover most of the topics on that today. But as far as this goes, it'll be my normal monologue. Like I already got the chat popping. Jaywalk says let's go. Shout out BG, my guy. Justin Friedman tapped in. JJ Sugar. Justin says I was like, it's kind of late for you today. LOL. Yeah, man, I'm dragging, dude. I had some stuff I was trying to, tidy up real quick, but shout out Dot on X says, what's up? Over on IG, we got Champagne Master says, let's go. But yeah, man, it's here. It's finally here. Like I said, it's kind of surreal. Like my wife, she's a Cowboys fan. She keeps saying, she's like, I can't believe the Cowboys play tomorrow. I'm like, yeah, it's, you go so long without it. It's funny too. Like, I watch all football, like college football too. So, it's like you almost have to like relearn and like reprogram like your mind or your brain to like get in football mode and like how to watch football. Been watching, like, I love baseball, I love the Astros, and if you watch other games, shout out Deb, Texans fan on IG, says let's roll. But yeah, I mean, it's like it's just different, but like football just hits different, man. Like other sports are kind of slow. Yeah, it's the best, dude. We're here. Yeah, and we got several interviews too, so we can go through the timeline here in a minute and catch up on those. I know I had a week off. I was out of town, so I didn't really cover some of that stuff, like the roster, but I can kind of just go through that real quick. I wrote some articles on it too, but there were a few surprises on the roster, mostly being only keeping two tight ends. And then as well as, not keeping Jakob Johnson. But then like after they assembled the practice squad and after you listen to DeMeco and Nick Caserio, it kind of made sense. They basically talk about it, how the practice squad is basically an extension of the roster. So it's not really a 53-man roster. It's like a 63, 68-man roster. There are some rules as far as, you can only elevate two per week from the practice squad. And then you can only be elevated, I believe, 3 times before you have to be made permanent on the 53-man roster. But, Caserio talked about they will utilize certain position groups on that practice squad. And so the two positions, we thought there would be 3 to 4 tight ends kept with Nick Caley, from what we saw in preseason, a lot of 12 personnel, even 13 personnel, former tight ends coach. But they only kept 2, and they re-signed Harrison Bryant to the practice squad. But it also ties in too as well. The whole time Nick Caley has talked about with this offense that it's going to be an adaptable and adjustable offense, not only to our own personnel, but week to week based off our opponent. So to me, I think they can potentially signal what they would like to do that week based off of the roster, the 53-man roster, basically who is and isn't on the practice squad. So Jakob Johnson, fullback slash H-back slash tight end, is on the practice squad. Obviously, British Brooks made it over him. They have him as running back. So I would assume he would play fullback. I know he played a little bit last year before he got hurt, but I feel like we haven't seen a lot of him at fullback. So I wonder, I'm really starting to think are we about to air it out? Like, are we about to spread it out? So you also have this element of preseason, we've played our starters. The Rams never do. They're notorious for that. There's open practice, there's games. And so people kind of get an idea of what's out there, but a lot of teams hold stuff back, as you should. You have wrinkles. So I wonder if we might come out and run obviously a ton of 11 personnel, but even 10 personnel, which would be 4 wide receivers. And that's something I thought too, like whenever we went and got all these receivers, obviously we had Nico and we signed Kirk, and then we drafted 2 more receivers on top of having Hutch and adding Watson. We kept 7 on the roster. And so that was my initial thought was like, what if we just start airing this thing out, spread it out like CJ did in college a little bit? Like obviously he'd mix it up, but there was, four wide receivers is more prevalent in college. And, all this talk about O-line and stuff like that in the offseason, to me, one way to negate struggles with the O-line is to spread it out. And so we have already kind of seen that, not as far as spreading it out, but like we've seen the philosophy from Caley. It's been evident in practices and in games, and I love it. And it's all stuff that we preached for all, last season with Slowick, and he started to do some of it late. But like, first thing is quick game, a lot of quick game, get the ball out quick. We've been seeing it all camp. And you can tell from watching and also listening to dialogue between him and CJ through pressers and various, avenues where there's a concerted effort where they make quick decisions. Don't sit there like, hey, like you can make it easier for the O line. So that kind of goes hand in hand if running a spread. So like I've been starting to develop this thought of like, what if we come out and spread it out? And so obviously, today the first injury report came out, and there was a shock that Braxton Berrios and Christian Kirk had hamstrings and didn't practice. And I know the initial instinct for most all of us is to freak out and say, oh, Christian Kirk, he's made of glass. Of course he's hurt. Berrios, whatever. I know he's like the third on the depth chart at slot, but I tend to think it may just be what they've done. I mean, Kirk and Berrios both missed time during camp a couple days at a time with hamstrings. They're veteran guys. To me, I'm hoping and assuming, could be wrong, but I'm not freaking out until later in the week. But I think it's just the same that they do with all these veterans. They take it easy, and if not, we're fine. That's why you went and got Higgins and Knoll. And so, but I tend to think that that's fine. So I kind of went on a tangent there, and that's how I do it with you guys. We just kind of off the rip, just kind of talk, and eventually we'll hit all the topics. So let me get back to some comments. I'm not a very structured person when it comes to this, and I don't think it works well for my style. So let's see. JJ Sugar, it's been so hard to focus this week already. Just been glued into all the Texans Rams news facts. And I feel bad too, like when I post content, like, man, I'm posting too much. But like, honestly, too, from like the content creation side, like on X and Instagram, it's almost like less busy because like the offseason, you got like interviews and this and that. And I guess it'll probably ramp up. Like the pundits will all have their shows and talk about it. But like the stuff I'm posting now is like lists and rankings and, all these BS lists. And it's fun for us to, be like, oh, this guy's an idiot. Like Pete Prisco, had the Texans as 15th in his power rankings. Like, come on, bro. But yeah, so it's kind of different. And we had some interviews today. But I think at this point too, like it's been so long and like, they've had so many times where they've talked to DeMeco and CJ, you can only ask the same questions so much. So, and we'll get to it too. DeMeco is like basically like, I'm ready to start playing, bro. Like I'm tired of hearing the same stuff. T, my favorite WB. I assume that means white boy. Appreciate it, bro. Justin Friedman, H-Town from PA. Let's go. Carson Sanders, it's Fukin game week. Yes, sir. Let's get it. Uncle Ant, Texans big win in LA this week. And he says CJ 2 touchdowns. Yes, sir. At least. Brandon Halam, Texans beat the Rams 31-9. Okay. All right. I like the vibes, man. BG ready for some MF Texans football. And I'm still debating if I should stream the game or not. Let me know if y'all would be interested in that. There is a service that I was talking to, and I don't know how it'd work out, but I don't know if it's any different than me just doing it myself or through here. I would do it on here, but then also have the option to go through their site where they have the option where like it shows like the time in the game that I'm at. And then you would be able to sync it with your TV and basically, I guess, I don't know how you would do it, like watch me on your phone or like listen and watch the game that way. But basically, like they got it to where there'd be no like no delay, so like I wouldn't be any spoilers. And then they have like in the chat, they have an option to where once you put your time in, the chat won't ruin it either, so you don't get spoilers that way. So considering that, if you think it's a good idea, if it's worthwhile, let me know. I know a lot of people do it. And I wouldn't do the play-by-play stuff. I would just be purely reaction, like me sitting here watching it. With the NFL, I can't put it on my screen, but I would just be sitting here watching it, giving you my live reaction like we're hanging out. It might be cool because, I feel like, I think I'm a professional football watcher. I've watched a ton of football. And, even this weekend watching college football, like I get frustrated watching these commentators on some of these games. Like they're so dumb. Like sometimes like they just don't. I get to it's got to be hard being a commentator, like as opposed to being on your couch. But like you'll see a play where like they should mention like, oh, this might have happened or that might have happened. Like when a fumble happens, like you can mention like, oh, was that a fumble or was that a catch or was it you could like just something you might see to bring up and they just don't say it, or just like little stuff like that. But like, so I feel like that would be cool. But give me your thoughts on that if y'all be interested. I'm still kind of debating it. It would be a laid back style, kind of like this, but like there'd be some dead air. But I wouldn't do the play by play. I know a lot of other good people like Ruben. Shout out Ruben. As well as Jeremy Chugs. I know they kind of do it, but because you can't show the game, they do the play by play. That's not for me. I would just be sitting here chilling, and you would just have me as like we're hanging out, just and I would answer chat. And we could talk to you like that. So, um, Carson Sanders says just two in the TDs. T says 24-20. Product of the H, my guy. Follow Product of the H, obviously on TikTok and Instagram. He's starting to get active on X as well. So give him a follow. He does a great job. He says, who gets the first pick of the year? Bullock. That's who I say, and that's who T says. JJ Sugar, Product of the H, my guess is Lassiter, unless Stafford really wants to testing early. Yeah, Lassiter's probably a good pick. Shout out Jay Money. Patton, my guy, 4 wide. Man, if the guys are healthy, which I think I could see it, dude. I mean, I could really see it, bro. I mean, that's who Stroud is. He's a field general. Like, and I don't know if y'all had a chance to tune in or listen to my show with Nate Tice, who, by the way, that was awesome. I could have talked to him forever. And it was awesome to hear an outside national opinion, someone that really knows football, say all the same stuff we've been saying on here about Stroud and the offense and Nico and this and that. Um, so I forgot where I was going with that, but anyways, the convo with him was great, and we were kind of talking about I guess the command of the offense is where I was going. I forgot where that thought went, but yeah, I mean, so yeah, I guess let me just start over on that. So, but yeah, Stroud in this offense, obviously we've seen certain things, but like my hunch is like we've seen him at Ohio State and in high school. Like he's been a field general when he's had command of the offense. He has full control, IDing the mic, setting the pass protection, doing the same thing in the run game, being able to audible, being able to have receivers who have hot routes as opposed to one built-in hot route. Now they can adjust things on the fly, which we saw all preseason. They're still ironing out, hey, when this guy does this, I expect you to do this, like giving the players freedom to make plays. And if you go in a 4 wide up tempo, that would be sick, dude. I mean, I think he would crush it. I think it's something that very well could happen. And it's just, we haven't seen it because they're kind of holding their cards close to their vest. But either way too, and I'll get into it too. So that's part of my article. The defensive coordinator for, and we can kind of go through like personnel, their roster, their staff, but they run like a 3-3-5 defense. So obviously Jared Verse and Byron Young are edge rushers, but they're linebackers in that 3-3-5. But they kind of do a lot of like the trickery stuff where, they'll blitz or they'll, kind of do games and things like that, like simulated pressures as well. But anyways, they try and disguise and confuse. But I mean, if you tempo and spread them out, quick game, that's how you negate that. Obviously, running the ball helps too. But again, we'll get into it. I probably should have wrote my article first because I've been thinking about this stuff all day today, but I haven't like finished it. So my thoughts are kind of like scatterbrained on the game. But yeah, and so everyone say it in the chat. JJ Sugar, I feel like our game plan is loads of quick passes, pause, facts. Product of the H, quick game is key, facts. Product of the H, then catch them sleeping with the Nico on a deep one. Yeah, exactly. So quick game can be your run game. Real quick on IG, appreciate you guys tuning in. Shout out Primo Looks. Give him a follow on IG. He says, what's up? KWBR, what up, homie? What's good, man? And then someone asked about Kirk. I don't know, but I suspect I said we wait to judge. It could just be precautionary. Deb says, hoping DP breaks out. It very well could happen. Josh is cool, says, hey, go Texans. And yeah, people are hyped, man. We're here. It's the season. Berto says, I can't wait for the season. I'm probably going to be at Tom's in downtown to watch the game. Nice. He says, first TD Higgins. I don't know. We'll see. Texans Daily News, think the O-line will be okay? Yes, I do think they'll be okay. Obviously, it's going to be a tough test, but like what we're saying, good coaching can help you a lot. And we've talked about it on here too. So, for me, it's frustrating. I get being pessimistic on the O line, but like when I hear a lot of these national pundits, like there's a lot of them, like just saying the Texans will be bad, the O line will be bad. It's like it's a completely different O line, bro. Like you got a new OC with a new scheme. You got a new O line coach who actually knows what he's doing. New scheme. There's only one lineman coming back returning. That's Titus. He's at right tackle, and he played a lot of left guard last year, so he's basically five. The other four are new guys. And just because one's a rookie, and just because Lakin didn't play great last year, and just because you never heard of Jake Andrews, and just because Ed Ingram didn't play good last year in a different scheme, doesn't mean they're all completely automatically ass. And on top of that, too, like everyone wants to like harp on how bad the O-line was. It wasn't just the O-line. Our tight ends were the worst in the league in pass pro. Our running backs were terrible too. And again, it wasn't those guys. It wasn't personnel. Guys were just coming unblocked. And so like, it's just like, I could see people thinking that the O-line will be just as bad, if not worse this year, if we ran it back with the same coaches. We didn't. I mean, yes, the rest of the staff. If we ran it back with Slowick, if we ran it back with Strausser, if we ran it back with Kenyon Green, if we ran it back with Shaq Mason, like, no, we didn't, bro. So, like, it just drives me crazy. We've all been saying it. If they can be an average O-line at best, we can be a legit contender. I think they can at least be that. I'm even, I've been one of the few I feel like that's been very optimistic on this whole operation the whole time. And I feel like they can be pushing top 10 eventually. And it's not even like about the personnel. And that's been my argument on here too. Like, people want to look up guys' grades or their film the last year, but like, no one knew who any of these players were until we got them. Like, obviously Cam Robinson, people knew him, but like Ed Ingram, people had heard of him, but like, how many O linemen can people really name? I mean, you can name some guys if they just kind of get like notoriously bad rap, but like, you can name like left tackles, premier left tackles, and a couple guys here and there, but like, and even then, like we don't know. Like it's different than skill positions where like we're all watching them. We're not sitting there. The average fan isn't sitting there watching O line play. So yeah, I think the O line will be good. JJ Suggerin says unless Chubb breaks off a big one randomly. Ayo says T. T says Kirk first one. Patton says my brother. Black Lion, what up, brother? Good to see you, man. Hope to engage with you guys. So over at the H-Town Rundown, I can't wait for them to fire back up the All 22 review. They do a great job with that. I think without Kirk, Noel will step up. Yeah, so if Kirk doesn't play, I feel completely confident in Jalen Noel. Justin Friedman, first TD will be a running back. Which one, though? Product of the H. Woody Marks, first TD. Ooh, that'd be like a third down in the red zone, maybe. H-Town made. Does Woody get any touches this week? I think he will. I mean, so, Texans Cap, pointed out something about like the highest usage rates. I think the Rams were the highest usage rate of gap scheme last year. And then the Texans were like one of the highest in preseason. So it's going to be it's going to be two similar styles. I mean, I think although McVay is an offensive mind, I think he likes to win with his defense. I think DeMeco's like that too. I think it's going to be a physical game. It's going to be a game where both teams are going to try not to shoot themselves in the foot with, pre-snap penalties and loss of yards. And so running downhill duo and inside zone and gap scheme concepts can, prevent negative yards, so less wide zone where you're running behind the line of scrimmage. So that's definitely something, it could be a boring game. I really am leaning under. So we'll get into like the stuff here in a minute, like as far as odds and all that stuff. But my initial instinct is to the average fan, it's going to be boring and an under game. So cool. I got a couple good feedback on the live stream. I'll let y'all know if I do it. If I guess I didn't announce this, so you can see on the bottom there, but I partner with Kalshi. It's a betting site that's legal in all 50 states, and it's legal in all 50 states because it's different than like a bookie or like a casino. It's like a commodities trading. It's basically like peer to peer, where like there's something and it just connects you to a user. So it's It's legitimate, and it's a great site. It's a great brand. I think there's a couple other ones, but they kind of started out like, like doing like politics and stuff like that. But they have all the sports on there. We can get into that. So if you want to check it out, it's called Kalshi, Kalshi. Follow them on all social media. They have a Kalshi Sports is like their sports one. And if you do sign up, use code HOU, which is my code, and you get $20 of free play. And they give me, whatever it may be in return. So if you're looking to support me, that's one way you can do so. I'll be on there. I think it'll be a great thing. A couple more comments on IG. Someone says DTs need more work. I mean, we'll see. I think it's the same as always. It's kind of underrated. BJ Live, does Nick Caley coming from McVay try work against us? We can get into that too. So I don't know if that. I think it works more in our favor. So I'll run through those real quick. Again, I'm going to write an article. It's going to be super in depth. I think y'all like it. But one sec, let me get a sip of this water. Yeah, a lot of storylines. So last year we had a joint practice against the Rams. CJ Stroud is like a huge fan of Matthew Stafford. He was on the $1 million worth of game podcast last year, like talking about, how he like watches Matthew Stafford tape. And again, he talked about it today, but like the things that he likes about his game is how he can manipulate defenders with his eyes. He'll, look off safeties and he'll do a bunch of no look throws. So that's also going to be something to look for us is eye discipline on defense. That's one of my keys to the game. You'll see in my article on my website, HoustonStressens.com, which will be for safeties to not get stuck on reading Matthew Stafford's eyes, because he's going to deceive you to move you to throw in certain zones and even, no look it. And also the use of pre-snap motion and motion at the snap. You can't let all that eye candy, get you off guard or get you looking here and then boom, they get you there. So it's interesting too. Obviously, Nick Caley's a storyline. He was from them last year, and now he's our OC. He was the tight ends coach there. Now he's the OC here. But also Jerry Schuplinski, who was an advisor for them for years, and now he's here for us. So we got two of their coaches. So we know their stuff. Of course, they'll adapt and adjust. And we have more of the unknown because Caley says he's going to be the Houston Texans offense, which is some New England, which is some Rams, which is just other stuff in the league. So I think that advantage goes to us. There's also the element of Sean McVay, being notorious for not playing starters at all in the preseason ever. So some people, I break that down in my article, which when I finish, I'll lay it out that it's actually a myth. Like it doesn't really affect them. They actually have started pretty well since 2017, since he's been the head coach. I think they're like, they've only had 2 losses. And then last year was a loss in overtime to the Lions, who were damn good. So I don't think that's going to affect them. Maybe sluggish, but they also have, the storyline of Matthew Stafford having back issues. Obviously, it's serious, but I think he'll be fine. I mean, he's a tough guy. Like even if he gets hit, like he's going to be shot up and doped up where he won't feel it. I don't think it'll affect him during the game. Like maybe if he gets really hit really hard, it could, be a factor in the game, but I don't think that's too big of a factor. And then their left tackle, I'm going to butcher his name. I think it's Alaric Jackson. He hasn't practiced all camp. He just practiced today for the first time. He was out with blood clots. But from my understanding, like he couldn't practice because he was on medication that was like blood thinner. So if he were to practice, he could get like bruising or something until the blood clots subsided. So he should be in shape. And like basically once he's released to go, there's probably very minimal chance for a setback. So, but still, like you have the element of rust for him. You have, the less amount of time. I mean, so, so McVay on the non-preseason games, he put more emphasis on the joint practices, which a lot of coaches do. But Stafford, I don't think he got any joint practice work. I may be wrong. So, also with their new weapon, Devontae Adams, that's, something that could kind of lean our way. But DeMeco Ryans pointed that out, the whole fact about them not playing their starters, and he spun it as like an advantage for them because it's an unknown. Like we don't know how they're going to utilize guys, namely Devontae Adams, the new piece that they have. But he said their approach will be to not try and guess, but just to do their stuff and stay disciplined on their stuff and let it come to them and figure it out, which I think is great to hear. I mean, you could sit there and speculate and be like, oh, they're going to do this, they're going to do that, and you make this whole game plan off of speculation, and they come out there and do something different. So I think that's a good mindset. Obviously, you have the CJ Stroud returning home. Grew up in the area, so that'll be a cool homecoming for him. He'll be extra motivated to get a win. Just trying to think of all the other story angles. I'll kind of go through some key matchups too, but I feel like there was a couple other storylines as well. I think the Rams are a damn good team. I just did today, just to get like predictions out there on PFN. I picked like every game of the season, and like it goes through, and then it gives you the records and division winners and the playoff bracket, and then I picked the bracket. But I picked the Rams to make it to the Super Bowl and lose to the Ravens. So, and I got us going to the AFC Championship game, losing the Ravens, which I think we can go further, but I don't want to be too much of a homer. So, but my point is, the Rams are a damn good football team. Like, I don't get how people don't realize it. Like, okay, the Eagles won last year, obviously, and they were dominant, right? Like, they dominated the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. They dominated the Redskins in the AFC Championship game. But the divisional round game at home, like in a damn near blizzard, was this close to losing to the Rams. They were this close to losing to the Rams. The Rams, were on like the 8-yard line on 4th and goal with like no time left, and they dropped a pass, or like it felt like they had a couple chances to score. So like they were that close to losing to the Rams, but people kind of forget about it. And then also they think they think they start slow. So like the Rams are a damn good team. Obviously, DeMeco talked about it. We all know too. The big thing in this game is both defensive lines, both top 5, top 3 defensive lines. Obviously, we know defensive lines. We know our defensive line, but the Rams got some firepower, man. I'll go through PFF. We can kind of go through like the matchups, but we can kind of see what they say on there. But the Rams definitely got some guys on that end as well. But obviously, Jared Verse, Kobe Turner, Byron Young, Braden Fisk, and someone that people are forgetting about is Puna Ford, bro. That guy as a one tech, undersized, like height wise, but like stout, run stopper. Like he's a beast, bro. I wanted us to sign him, and he played good against us last year in the Chargers playoff game. So that's another one there. But again, I'm kind of just rolling through all my thoughts as they come to me on this. So let's just look at we'll go on PFF to kind of look at the matchups real quick. And so we play Sunday at 3:05 on Fox, or 3:25. So that'll be interesting to have a later start. And here we go. Let's see. Let me share my screen right here real quick. PFF share. And so this is the Texans defense versus the Rams offense, which is against their base personnel, which is 11, which is three wide receivers. So you got, Adams on the outside is what they got, which he can be moved all over with Lassiter across from him. Atwell, Tutu out in the slot, who I think is underrated. Oh, man, they got Tyler Higbee, who's a solid tight end. They also signed Ferguson, the tight end from Oregon, who I really liked, who's a weapon. That guy might eat against us. He's really good. There's Jackson, the left tackle we talked about. And their O-line isn't bad. Avila, Shelton, Dotson, Havenstein. These are their grades from last year. And it's tough, too. So it's tough, like, when you are early in the season because whereas, like, if you're, like, in the middle of the season, you can, like, go back to recent games. So it's tough to, like, go back to an offense or players' grades or whatever it may be from last year because things change. But obviously Stafford back there. And then Kyron Williams is a really good back. I think he's underrated. But, that'll be a good matchup. So, with Alaric Jackson coming back from injury and seeing where he's at, that's a tough matchup for him against Hunter and/or Will Anderson Jr. And right now they got us running a 4-3 base on here, which we may see more of a 4-3 with Christian Harris back. You could see normally we do a 4-2-5 with 2 linebackers, but it's probably dependent upon their personnel. I think if they don't, we'll see. Like if Harris is basically the nickel and he's faster, that'll be an interesting wrinkle too. So DeMeco might have some stuff up his sleeve as well. But If not, Petrie will be in that role. Obviously, C.J. Gardner-Johnson's back. He's going to be fun to watch. But on the flip side, real quick, we'll go to their defense versus our offense. They have Cameron Curl at safety and Lake. What's his first name again? Quentin Lake. I mean, their defense is pretty good. Witherspoon, their corners, I think that's where we have an advantage. I think their safeties are decent. And the linebackers, I mean, I don't think their linebackers are great either. Omar Spates at left inside linebacker, right inside linebacker is Troy Reeder. And then on the outside, they got Akella Witherspoon. And they got that's it, dude. We're gonna run 4 wide, bro. We're gonna run 4. They can't stop us. So their D line is awesome, right? It's gonna be hard to run the ball. It's gonna be, they're gonna get pass pro. We're gonna spread them out and we're gonna hit them with quick game. That's what we're gonna do. This guy Witherspoon's guarding Nico or Williams. Come on, dude. And then if Hutchinson's out there, who's improved, or Higgins, Kirk, if he plays. I mean, I don't know who their nickel would be. See if I can change it to where. Yeah, I mean, I guess they're kind of in a weird spot because they're, the 3-3-5. I mean, it's kind of a weird spot. So, yeah, I feel good about it. But obviously, the big thing people have been talking about and I've been talking about is the matchup of Ariante Ursery, the rookie at left tackle, against Jared Verse. And Jared Verse is a beast, but I think Ursery will do okay to good. I think the styles match up well for Ursery because Verse is a bull rusher. Like the videos we've all been seeing of him just mauling people is he just runs them over. But like Ursery's a bigger guy and he probably prefers to handle somebody like that as opposed to someone with like a crazy, bag of moves. So, but as I mentioned, Puna Ford, Kobe Turner, Brandon Fisk, Byron Young. So yeah, I mean, they got obviously a great D line. I feel like the safeties are pretty good. I feel like they're weak at linebacker and corner. That's just my opinion, maybe wrong. But yeah, so that's just one thing there. Let me see if I catch up with the comments and see where we're at. And yep, I agree with Patton. If Kirk doesn't play, we'll be fine. Henry Jack, should the Texans draft 2 running backs from SMU, Derek McFall TJ Harden, this Texans running back room. Man, Henry, you're always way ahead. I'm focused on now, but we'll see how it shakes out. But it would be nice to get a young back in there. Justin Friedman says he could see that. Brandon Halam, a deep motion on Noel. Justin says, Ursley looking good. I agree. Sports Talk with D. What's up, Stressin? Appreciate it, man. What's up? And we will be fine. Malik Nadim says, Malik Nadim, bro, when you interview people, you need to stop asking about their introduction. We already know them, which is why we're watching them. The first 5 to 10 minutes completely goes to waste. Cool, man. I mean, that's for you, but most people don't know these people. I mean, you may know them. I mean, you can always fast forward for the first 5 to 10 minutes. I mean, I appreciate the feedback, but kind of a weird comment, honestly. And it's for me to get to know them. It's part of the process. Once you get to know somebody, it helps the conversation. But if I interview them again, I won't do it again. But if I interview somebody for the first time, it's partly I am curious to get to know them. But to each their own, man. Charlie Smurphy, it's frustrating hearing the nation media parrot each other the past 6 months. Yeah, that's what it is. Like it's just an easy way to have a take on the team. Kyle, excited for Sunday, man. Really feel like the media is really downplaying Kirk in this offense with CJ. Our secondary is really about to shine. I agree 1,000%, dude. We have a true slot receiver in Kirk. He's a slot magician, as Kalen Bullock calls him. Charlie Smurphy, correct takes as usual. Senor Buble, word up, great people. What's going on? Henry Jack. Let's see. Patton, I can name a lot of O-linemen. O-line god here. I was very high on Ingram. Hey, let's go. Yeah, I mean, but I was saying, yeah, the average person doesn't really know O-line, like they do skill players. It's just, the nature of the game, fantasy, all that stuff. Brandon Halam, who is managing the clock when it gets tight, DeMeco, Caley, or CJ? That's a great question. So that is one, criticism of DeMeco is clock management has not been great. And who knows? I mean, from all we've learned about the first 2 years with Bobby, he seemed to defer a lot, whether that's clock management, which I don't know if he should do that, but even decision making, like those bizarre decisions we saw last year when it was like obvious times to punt and we went for it, or it was an obvious pass down and we ran it, or vice versa. I suspect he just let Bobby make the call, which is what you should do. Like you hire a guy to do a job, so you trust him to do it. So, that's definitely an interesting deal. But yeah, like so we saw in preseason, like CJ was locked in and told him to call a timeout. But like now, if CJ has more command and if they let him make the decisions to call timeouts, like the dude's freaking smart. As Nate Tice was saying, like he's one of the smartest guys, and that's why we've all wanted him to have more control and knew he would be fine because we watch all these interviews and podcasts where he's on there just talking ball and like talking about random games, like, oh, I watch this game. Oh, that team runs this kind of coverage. Like he knows what he's talking about. He's just obsessed with football. He's a fan like us, but he's also an elite quarterback. So he would be able to handle that stuff. Senior Buble, I really think this is going to be light work for the Texans this Sunday. Man, I mean, I think we'll win, but I'm not like shit. I'm not that confident. I think the Rams are really good. Brandon says Rams had impressive wins versus the Vikings and Bills, but the rest of their season wasn't very impressive. I mean, that's fair, but like when it came down to the stretch, I think they're also a team that kind of every team, deals with injuries and stuff like that. But I mean, when it comes down to it, they got a damn good coach. And to me, the NFL, everybody in the NFL is freaking good. We all know the most important position is quarterback. So they got a damn good quarterback who's won a Super Bowl. And then after that, pretty much all the positions, like everyone, there's not a lot of separation or parity. And then after that, it's coaching and scheme. We saw it last year on the offensive side of the ball. We saw it when Slowick matched up against what's his face, the coordinator for why am I forgetting the coordinator for is it Spagnuolo? Steve Spagnuolo, the Chiefs. I mean, that was a massive mismatch. That was coaching. They weren't necessarily more talented than us across the board. So Bubba says, I think it's advantage Texans. You gave Miko a mole from the inside the room with McVay. Yeah, it's a good point. Christian, yeah, we big blessing. Finally, game week. We aren't beating the Broncos, but Cam will go down swinging for sure. Well, y'all got a shot. That's a tough matchup, and the weather looks kind of tough. But I mean, I'm excited to watch Cam Ward. He's a special talent. Dot says Stafford didn't play in the joint practice. Okay, so yeah, I mean, he might be a little rusty. JJ, week one is always a lot of unknown, regardless if teams play or don't play preseason. Week 1 through 3 always has some weird games and teams losing that shouldn't have. Yeah, for sure. JJ, LOL, weird statement from Malik there. It's common courtesy to introduce people, and also not everyone knows the guest. Yeah, I mean, it's each their own, but whatever. And Nomad Scott, why don't you have super chats on? I've been working on it, dude. Freaking YouTube. I've been working on it for months, bro. It's so infuriating. I'm hoping I feel like I finally got progress, but they got this process where you apply to receive monetization, which includes super chats, and then they'll like deny you, but they don't tell you why. And then they have like a list, and then you can email them like, oh, just read the list. And it's like a million things and you don't know what it is. So that's why I changed my name, my logo. I've been trying all kind of stuff. I've like even deleted content and rebuilt up the qualifications. So hope to be there soon. Saul says, you think Higgins will have a good rookie year? I do. As of right now, he seems to be behind Higgins. Golly, I'm slipping today. Hutchinson, which, the depth chart was released, but the depth chart is an unofficial depth chart. And I was actually looking at another team's depth chart the other day, and it had a disclaimer at the top. It says, this was compiled by our team's media or PR. So it's like letting you know, like, hey, this is not the coaches saying this. Like it's something they have to do. And, like when the first one came out, in preseason, DeMeco was like, oh, I didn't even know we had one. Like, oh, I guess he made it, so like, so some of the stuff on the unofficial depth chart, it's kind of, that's why I didn't weigh too much into like, Noel starting over Hutch, which, from everything we saw, Hutch was getting more reps, and maybe they could flip flop that as like a, trick going into week 1. But my guess is they still like Hutch, but, Higgins will be eased in, and, you already see some injuries. So there could be, reasons like that, that it happens. So BJ Parmalee says if Verse doesn't get game plan around, we might be French toast. That's a good point. Yeah. And they're well aware of him, so I would trust that we do that. No Amador thoughts on McCaffrey. I like him. I had the chance to draft him earlier in a draft, which was kind of why I was late today. Um, I was at number 5, and I wanted to go running back, and the first pick was obviously, I think it was, I forget which order, but Saquon. Again, I'm tired today. I don't know why my brain is lapsing. Anyways, like the first 3 running backs were gone, and for me, it was between Ginty and the pick I should have made that the board said was McCaffrey, but I took Ginty, who was like projected 8 or 9 over McCaffrey at like spot 5. He's a beast, but like I'm just like the injury he had recently, that one was weird to me. Maybe, and like he just had a lot of usage, but he's just a uh, JJ says low key. Verse is a bit overrated based off how people are talking about him. Dude's not a Myles Garrett. He's really good for sure, but people are talking him up like it's the best defensive player. Yeah, and then like he could have the sophomore slump. I mean, or he could get better. And then Dot says, if Tay struggles, could you see DeMeco going to Robinson or letting Tay play out the game? That's a good question. I think they would first start game planning, sliding protection away or having tight ends chip or running backs chip. And I don't know that Cam would do any better. Otherwise, he would be out there. And, the quick game we talked about or running screens and doing stuff to mess with them, I think that can be part of it. And if you can get the run game going, I mean, you don't have to. That's the biggest thing is like avoid known passing downs. Like if we're not in 3rd and long and 2nd and long like we always are, that's the key. I mean, it's easy. All these edge rushers are good when they know, it's 3rd and whatever, and they have 3-4 seconds to get there. So uh, Justin said he was number 1 in fantasy, so I took Saquon myself. Dope. But yeah, so let's just go through. Let me just share. I should be more organized, but whatever. It's better this way. We got the Texans. I don't know why it's showing fantasy football right here. Yeah, that's the roster I just drafted right there. Blessing or stressing. Mayfield, James Cook, Ginty, Harrison, Drake London, Evan Ingram, DeAndre Swift, Texans defense, Santos. Well, I don't know why it's showing it in the middle of this Texans matchup. So let's go to Rams. Their schedule from last year, I think, would be a good thing to start at. So we kind of talked about this briefly, but so they started slow last year because they lost the first 2, but the first game they lost at Detroit in overtime. And then they, got waxed by the Cardinals. So 1, 2, 3, 4. They lost 4 of their first 5. So it depends on your definition of starting slow. Yes, they started slow last year, losing 4 or 5. 1, 2, 3 of those 4 losses were 1-score games. NFL, I mean, that's kind of how it is. And they lost to the Bears and Cardinals, kind of bad losses. You can see the Lions and Packers, and then they kind of got it together from there. So, and I can't quite recall, but I feel like they kind of went through some injuries. I mean, you can see in the Arizona game, Kyron Williams seemed to not play. But, and then as Brandon was saying, like the teams they beat San Fran last year, who turned out to not be that great. They beat Vegas. They beat Minnesota. They beat Seattle. They beat the Patriots. They beat the Saints. They beat the Bills. I mean, that game was crazy, 44-42. Beat the Niners again, the Jets, Cardinals. I mean, and they lost to the Eagles. And week 18 doesn't count. So they lost to the Eagles and the Dolphins. And yeah, so I mean, they basically had a slow start in the 4 or 5 games. I mean, like the way they finished the season was crazy. And then let's see, playoffs. They beat Minnesota again, who Minnesota was hot. Minnesota was like one of the best teams, and they whooped their butts. And then they, went down to the wire against the Eagles. So for me, I think they're a good team. And then let's go to NFL Pro. Share this tab instead. And so this is kind of, as we go through the season, I like to use this site because they show a lot of stuff. But as for now, there's not going to be like a lot of data and stuff to look at. Again, it'll go off last year. But, last year, so I feel like if we're going to reference stuff from last year, I feel like our offense isn't really a good reference point because it's all new, in my opinion. But, as far as our defense, it's good to look at that. I think it'll be potentially even better because our defense had a lot of injuries. At least now for week one, we're fully healthy. Their defense stats metrics from last year, they seem to have pretty much most of the same roster. And then as far as their offense, obviously, the same, if not better. Now they added Devontae Adams. So points per game, we were both at 21.9. They were 21.6. Point differential, we were at 0. They were at minus 19. So, and I don't know if this is, I wonder if that's preseason or not. That's kind of worrying me that it may be wrong. Total penalties. I mean, the penalties sounds right. We were 26 in total penalties, and they were first for only 91 as far as the least. But yeah, so they'll do like these advantages and rankings, as like what parts of the game, which, key advantages. We can't really do that now because, like I said, we have no sample size for this year. But they do have a couple like cool boxes on here. It says Danielle Hunter produced a league high 23.8% pressure rate in the fourth quarter of games last season, with a minimum of 75 pass rushes. By generating 31 pressures, including 6 sacks in the fourth quarter of games, Hunter also recorded the highest fourth quarter team pressure share, 32%, and the fourth highest fourth quarter team sack share, 42%. So basically, Danielle Hunter feasts in the fourth quarter when people get tired. So that'll be cool to look out for. Another note from them, the Rams generated consistent pressure when blitzing last season, recording the fourth highest pressure rate in the league, 46.4%. Despite generating pressure on a consistent basis, the Rams managed to convert just 12.9% of their team pressures when blitzing into sacks, the fifth lowest rate in the NFL. So they generated a lot of pressure, but didn't get sacks. So that means that CJ, we've seen if he gets the certain kind of pressure that's not just untouched, unblocked up the middle, he can evade and create. So that's good to know. But then it talks about, again, this is where we have to kind of delineate last year versus this year. Their defense, same. So it probably can, we can probably take some from that. But the Texans struggled to protect up against the blitz last season, allowing the sixth highest pressure rate. So, like, to me, I'm not going to pay attention to that because it's a whole new scheme. It's a whole new personnel. Like, that was all scheme and coaching, and we fixed that. Like, we've already seen it in the preseason. Like, we handled a lot of all the shit we couldn't handle last year in these preseason games with the 1s and 2s and even the 3s. So, I'm not going to extrapolate that means that they're going to dominate us, like, because we sucked last year at that. Kamari Lassiter and Derek Stingley. The Texans corners, Lassiter 45.6 and Stingley 46.7, allowed the lowest and second lowest completion percentages as the nearest defender last season among quarterbacks with at least 50 targets faced. That is insane, dude. The best duo in the league. Texans aligned their cornerbacks in off coverage, 5+ yards of cushion on 62.1% of their snaps last season, the ninth highest rate in the league. So that means that, if they're man, they're playing off, or maybe it means zone, but, we're basically playing off. You thought we might have pressed more, but then it says matchup. Puka Nacua excelled against off coverage last season, accumulating the 11th most yards, 672, and averaging 4.3 yards per route, the most among receivers with at least 100 routes versus off coverage. So that could be seen as, okay, we run a lot of off coverage, and Puka is great versus off coverage, but that also means that you have to hold on to the ball longer to run a deeper route to get the ball out. So if the pass rush gets there, that negates that. Or it means they're going to throw quick hitches or slants or screens, and now you need to work on tackling and preventing yak. So, I mean, I'm not too worried by that nugget there. Last one they have, and also too, like, these are awesome, but they'll start compiling more during the season as you get more data. But Kyron Williams had the highest success rate, 52.3% on strong side runs last season among running backs with at least 50 such carries. In addition, Williams totaled more carries, 172, and more first downs, 53, on strong side runs than any other running back. Williams particularly excelled on later downs, where he racked up 140 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 18 additional first downs across 30 such carries. To me, that tells me it's the same thing. It's a lot of, smash mouth football gap scheme. And they're going to probably like, that's pretty cool. I'm just reading this now for the first time, but like strong side, if you have like a tight end over there, like they're going to run to that side. Like it's almost predictable. And then, yeah, like, a lot of the success comes late. So they'll wear you down. I feel like we both want to do the same thing. We kind of both want to have physical run games and wear you down. Let me get to some comments real quick. Dot says, I can also see Tutu Atwell have a sneaky game. Should keep an eye on him as well. I agree. He's underrated, man. Also a good returner. PG, my guy, live again. It's that time. Keep killing it. Can't wait to kick it this season. Yes, sir, man. Thanks for tapping in. And then Dot says, I can see them calling up Bryant from PS to help deal with blocking this game. Yeah, so I don't know when that has to be done. So let me see if I can figure that out. Let's see. When do call ups from practice squad have to be done before a game? That's a great question there. They have strict deadlines. A team must designate standard elevations from the practice squad to the 53-man roster by 3 p.m. Central the day before the game. So that's a good point. It could change. Yeah, I mean, so, I'm assuming it is the way it is, and it's going to be, 10 personnel more than what we might think, but maybe it will be like, so that'll let us know. That's a good point, Dot. And I guess you wait because if injuries happen, like, if Barrios or Kirk can't go, then you just, I guess you could maybe put Barrios. I don't know how they would do that procedurally, but that's a good point, though, just to know that things can change up until the game pretty much. Let's see what else we got. Henry Jack, how do you feel about the Texans signing receiver Silas Bolden? Yeah, CJ Stroud's high school teammate. Love it, man. They seem to be taking approach with the practice squad of just like revolving door, getting a lot of people out there, getting a lot of looks at guys. And I'm fine with that. Like you probably have like your core of guys that will contribute. Like they got like a mix of veterans and rookies and, undrafted guys and guys you're just claiming. So, yeah, I like the signing. And that's like CJ Stroud had Xavier Johnson, his old teammate. So he probably got some pull. Hey, I like him. But you know what part of it too is like, they know like he likes him and they want to do right by him, but like they know he knows ball. Like he's a great scout. Like remember like the draft stuff with Micah Parsons? He's talking about Ricky Pearsall and he's like, oh man, I wanted him. He's a baller. Da, da, da. He's a killer at this. Like he knows what he's talking about, dude. Bobby Thornton, Hunter, and Anderson have good stats for how much they play. Anderson has almost 300 less snaps than Verse, but twice as many sacks. That's a great call out there, Bobby. Dot, especially if Kirk is out. I agree. So, sorry for the IG chat if you're on there. Let me see. I'm trying to get to all these in between. Jeremy Slavin says, I'll be in LA Sunday coming from Houston, looking to see the 2026 Super Bowl champs in person. Let's go. And then we got Texans fan 81 says, what's up? What's going on? Rahul Venkat, what's going on? Adilk, we bless him, man. We bless him, man. Facts. Big blessing, baby. And so let me get back to, I'll probably get more structured on this, get back in my groove for, game day preparation. But let me see what else we can go to. So let's go to the odds. I'll show you. Again, I partner with Kalshi. It's a way to bet in Texas, and you can bet because it's like trading and you're like betting against a person. So it's legal. It's free. I haven't really messed with it lately. I got $50 in here. I'll probably put some more in, but they got everything. They got like the US Open, pro football, college football. They got Taylor Swift bets. Who will headline the Pro Football Championship halftime show? You can bet odds on that. And what's cool too is like you can cash out. Like I know you can do that with some like sports books, but you have to be in states where you can use the sports book. Or if people use like bookies don't really do that. So like if we go to sports, and by the way, if you want to sign up, you can just download the app or go to the website. And if there's wherever it prompts you to put in a promo code, if you put in HOU, which is my code, it'll give you free $20 and they'll give me, a nice little incentive. Not quite sure exactly what it is, but if you want to find a way to give back to me, that'd be much appreciated. but I've been real particular about who I partner with. So like this brand is a really good brand. There's some other sites that are like this that are kind of tacky and they post a lot of crazy stuff. So, um, but anyhow, so sports, football, they got everything on here. Pro football. We'll go down to Texans, and this is also cool too. Like if you do have like other books or whatever it may be, you might find better odds on here too. So let's see, going down to here to Houston. And so it's like done like in a different way. It's like by cents. I think you can like change the let's see, you can change like a way it appears. And so I'll kind of start let's see, account settings, transfers. Anyhow, so I mean that's basically the odds. Like obviously, let's see. This is Houston and the Rams. And let me get a couple quick comments. Bubbly says, "What's your hot take prediction for the season? Minus Stroud wins MVP." Man, I think he can win MVP too. Man, like I think people really don't understand outside of the Texans world that like CJ Stroud getting control of an offense is like you're unlocking this like meta quarterback. Like he is a beast who's been coddled, not even coddled, handcuffed, and like wasn't allowed to do anything, young, and you could tell he like wanted to speak up and be like, "This is bullshit. Let me freaking do stuff." Like I've done offenses in high school with more control and done better. Um, so yeah, I think he's gonna be unlocked, bro. And like he may not have like crazy stats, but like Josh Allen, he won MVP just because of their record and being efficient. Like he didn't. I may be wrong, but I feel like last year his stats, like he's had years prior with like more passing yards, more touchdowns, more rushing yards, but last year was more efficient. He was actually a valuable player, and they kind of like threw that in. So I think Stroud can have that type of year. It goes down to like we're taking, we're giving you more control, but we're taking more pressure off of you by having a better O line and run game. So yeah, I would say that. I mean, I think we can. I don't know. I don't want to get too crazy on stuff. I'll kind of wait. Henry Jack, do you think Texans should have signed Saquon Barkley instead of Joe Mixon? I was the leader of wanting to sign him. Hindsight's 50-50. I don't know. I mean, he was obviously, at 2 to 3, or he was, what was he, like 13 million APY at the time? And he got like a fat extension now. So we might have only gotten him for a year anyways. As opposed to like Joe, like I may be wrong, but like I want to say he's like 8 million APY. So um, it's tough to say, but like, and there's also too like Saquon looks as good as he is because he's in a competent freaking scheme with a good O line. He might have not looked as good, and I don't know how he would have looked. I don't know how anybody could look good in what we saw last year. So it's hard for that. It's hard for me to say. Jay Hoover 07 got to catch you live more. Facts, man. Yeah, whenever, dude. I mean, I go every Wednesday at 9. Sometimes I'm early, sometimes I'm late. This season, I'm going to try and do a couple other things. I am going to partner with Cecil Shorts. We got to get it, organized, but we're going to do maybe a 30-minute weekly show where we review our top plays from the game and kind of give our insights on some critical plays in the game. And then I also want to start having, I'm trying to do it now. I've kind of been behind on getting it scheduled, but I want to start interviewing like I call myself like a fanalist, like a fan analyst, but other like fanalists or even journalists that cover the other team to kind of have a sit down and ask some questions and we can all tap in. So I'm trying to do more, but like as far as nighttime, this is probably the only one. I can kind of do some other weekday stuff. Yeah, Saquon would have been nice. Damn it, Bobby says HDAV Traveler. Yep, says Bubble. Henry Jack, how do you think the Texans should have re-signed both Cam Akers and Stephon Diggs? Or do you think? No, I think the running back room is fine. And I still am holding out hope. I guess we didn't talk about the Mixon injury because I didn't come on last week, but I was optimistic, wrong in my hope/prediction that Mixon would not make the IR. I still think that it does sound like it is like a weird recovery, but I really think he got a tightrope surgery done. This is me just guessing. I'm not acting like I know anything. It's just me making a guess based off stuff I saw, and it makes logical sense. But a tightrope surgery is an elective surgery. He had an ankle that constantly was getting re-aggravated twice from hip drop tackles and had a couple years prior where that same ankle bothered him. And so it's, hey, okay, it's like getting your knee scoped. Like this knee's bugging me. Let me clean it up so I'm good for the year. So This is my theory is that's what he got done. And then maybe the recovery went awry. Maybe there was an actual, other injury associated. Maybe he pushed it too hard during recovery, or maybe that's just been the thing the whole time and they're just easing him in. Maybe, they said, hey, Joe, keep recovering. We've seen Chubb looks good. We got Pierce. We got, Woody. We got Dare looks good. Like, take your time. We need you for the long haul. Or it could be super serious and worse. But I'm still holding out hope it's not that bad. And again, like, when Nick Caserio had his presser, after the 53-man roster and was asked about it, and he was asked, will he play this season? And he said, we'll see. To me, that doesn't mean that he doesn't think he is. To me, that question was very similar to when in the spring, when CJ Stroud was having this torn pec, saga. How is his shoulder, beat to shit? And I was on here saying, like, I'm not worried. It's more than likely a pitch count, resting him long season. Anyways, he was asked, DeMeco was up there and he was asked, did CJ Stroud have surgery? And he just like ignored the question and said, like, I'm done talking about it. And that was like, taken as, oh, he must have had surgery. So I feel like it's a little different, but kind of similar. I could be wrong. That's just kind of the vibe I got. Like, and it's just weird. Like, I get it. Like, the way they, deal with injuries, like I get conflicted on like how I truly feel about it. Like, I totally understand their approach on injuries. They say player safety, privacy, that's probably a big part of it. I think the big thing is, it's just like anything else. Like, once you give somebody something, like now that's like the bare minimum expected and they want more. So like, if you were to give info on an injury and like a potential return, like, oh, it's this injury and he'll be back probably around here. Now you're going to be held to that. And so now if anything changes, it's like they're on your ass. And, maybe it was this surgery and they could have said that off the jump, but then they're like, okay, well, we expect him back on this date based off of, this. But then if things start going awry, then they kind of keep following up. So that's kind of a little side thing there. I like Cecil in that laugh. Yeah, Cecil's a good guy, dude. Bobby, hopefully Mixon can come back late season. We have a duo of Chubb. Yeah, I think I'm optimistic, but I mean, I don't even know how I got onto that topic, but I guess we were talking about Mixon and Saquon. Yeah, and HG says Barkley wouldn't have ran for 2,000 yards here. Yeah, so he got paid by going to Philly for sure because they obviously paid him, but he, played badass. So, and then Senor Buble, they said the same thing about CD playing week 1 and he back. Yeah, so I mean, again, like I've learned, I'm on the positive side, like when on speculation. Some people are on the negative side on speculation. It's hard as a fan to just sit in the middle and like have no projection on what you think's going on, but like that's what you should do. Like, it sucks. Like, we don't know. We just don't know. It could be terrible. It could be not terrible. It could be mild. But that's what happens. The part that does to me, like DeMeco in that interview, like he was interviewed the same day and asked about, the injury. And I think DJ Bieneme asked him the question. And it's like a great question. Like Landry asked Caserio a great question about like, why aren't y'all transparent? And don't you think it makes it worse? And I thought Caserio, like normally I feel like he would have like been mad and like chirped back, but I thought Caserio gave like a good, response and like was like genuine. I don't know how much people saw, but I thought that was good. But then DeMeco, that was one I was like, all right, bro. Like normally I'm always like, taking his back and stuff, but like the DeMeco one was, he was, he kind of got, he was like, he said something, and I think he might have been upset too from the Aaron Wilson report on CJ Gardner-Johnson's knee injury potentially still. I don't know. But he said something like, nowadays y'all can just say something and take it down, which I don't think these reporters do that. Like, I don't know who he's referring to, unless he was referring to Aaron with the CJ Gardner-Johnson tweet, which, in my opinion, like I get people can kind of joke about it, but like, I think Aaron is still great. Like, people can joke and laugh about him, but then they also still use all of his sources. So it's like, do you trust him or not? Like, I mean, I get it's just joking, but I can't imagine how hard it is to like be the guy breaking injuries. Like, you probably have to have a little bit of not guessing, but like putting two and two together and taking risk. But like to me, his track record speaks very well. Like, how many times has he been wrong like on actual injury stuff? Like, yes, I get like there's some other stuff where you involve opinion, but that's where as a fan you have to like try and decipher, like, is this opinion or is this a fact? Which, from my understanding, he, may have been told, or like that's what he thought he was told happened. But regardless, he went on to make the comparison DeMeco did about, um, I don't know why y'all are so obsessed with like their health. Like, we don't come asking you guys about what's going on in y'all's health and y'all's private life. It's like, dude, that's not a good relation. Like, that's not relative. Like, these are players for a business, for reporters. It's a multi-billion, million, whatever the hell it is, dollar business, fantasy betting fans. People want to know. They don't have to know, but you can't get mad at them wanting to know. Like, it makes sense that we want to know if this guy's healthy or not. Like, you don't have to tell us, but don't get mad that people are asking you. And even if you, as much, like, I feel like he just, like, I support and agree with their decision not to tell stuff. That's the best thing for the team. Like, I'm with it, but you can't get mad at reporters and fans and people, one, wanting to know, and two, asking. And just because you continually send the message like, I'm not going to tell you shit, doesn't mean they can't keep trying to ask. And doesn't mean we should get mad. Like, some people are like, that's their job, but like some people are like, oh, let's leave them alone. Like, either way, you shouldn't get bothered as the coach. Just, it is what it is. It's part of the business. If you don't want to say it, just, tell him the same stuff over and over again. So it was kind of a weird one. He kind of was upset with that, but that was a while ago. So, G, do you think Casario didn't properly address the guard position with better options than Ed Tomlinson or Juice? I think he could have gotten a guard in the draft, in my opinion, or gotten a top free agent. I mean, that's what I wanted. Like, my reasoning was interior sucked, address that position in free agency. But I mean, it's kind of a reminder that, like, we may not know, like, just because some guy is slated to be the top free agent, like, Mekhi Becton supposedly is not doing that well, right? I believe, he was one of the top guards and went lower than we thought. But time will tell. I mean, it was definitely an approach I didn't expect, but they've done the approach exactly how they said they would. And I do like that it was much different from last year, in the sense that last year, all the spots were set in stone, no competition, no depth. This year, a ton of depth, a ton of competition, a ton of unknown. People had to go and earn it. They also, as corny as it is, emphasize the mentality, the nastiness. So all the shit we saw of, like, watching CJ get sacked and, turning your back, not helping him up, and like basically finger pointing, not my fault type stuff. Like, that shit's gone. Like, this is a unit. We have depth. And so as of now, I love it. I mean, I could sit here and, be a hypocrite and change my mind, but like, I'm not mad at it. Like, so I spoke to that earlier. Like, just because the name doesn't sound sexy to us doesn't mean that it's not a great fit for us. Like, it sounds, the reports from training camp, that Ed Ingram is freaking balling at right guard, and Tomlinson's doing pretty damn good. Man, we'll see if that's wrong. We got a great test, but so far so good. Bubble, I think having a former player as a coach has a lot to do with the way injury reporting is handled. Yes. Yep, I agree. So that's what he said too. So he's gone through it. And again, I'm not arguing with the way he does it. I was just, pointing out, obviously we get frustrated as fans, but like, you can't get mad at people asking. And there's just some kind of like, there's some hypocrisy, not hypocrisy. That's not the word, but, and then JJ, yeah, DeMeco and Nick's position on the whole injury thing is a complete disconnect from me. The frustration for being asked, hey, what's going on with Start? Yeah. So it's like, you can't get mad at getting asked. Like, don't get mad at the person. Like, this is the, and that's what gets me, is like, both of them, like, at least Nick, I know for sure on record, like, say and acknowledge this is an entertainment industry, an entertainment business. So like, come on, man. I mean, I get it, but it is what it is. So back to Kalshi on the odds. Show this real quick again. If you want to check it out, you can bet on here. Use my code HOU for $20. So it looks like it's got like the odds going. There's like a timeline. It's been going since May. So it's basically been 59% towards the Rams, and then there was a dip. Oh wow, the Texans were favored on this quote unquote book on August 4th. So that must have been when Stafford's back was going down. So like on here, you could have bought the Rams when they were low, and then once they gone up, you could have cashed out an arbitrage and made a small percentage. So I haven't really, messed with that myself. I have friends who have, but yeah, so just go in here and check it out. I need to start, getting more familiar myself. So it's not like your typical format of what you see. like money line, stuff like that, but it's basically the same thing. And I think you can, let's see, forecast graph. Okay, let's see. Uh, yeah, let's check out some of this stuff. Sell buttons. Yeah, so like there's ways to change it, but I mean, you like the Texans to win? Yes. Okay, 42 cents. And then you can buy it for 42 cents. Let's see, buy, yes. And let's see, what do I do here? Let's do fuck it. Let's do $50. I got 50.1. Let's do 50.1. And so my payout is 114. So that means I get my 50 back plus the change. So review, submit. And so I believe there's a cost, includes a fee of 195. So normally when you have like a bookie, there's like a VIG or like a juice. This is basically that, it's like a transaction fee, but I mean, I'll take it. So we're locked in. I also have another affiliate thing. I don't know if y'all are familiar. I haven't really shared this one. I forgot about it, honestly, but let's see. FTN Fantasy. If you have any interest in joining them, I need to get familiar with their stuff, but they, have a lot of fantasy, obviously, but they got betting stuff too. And I'm not sure exactly what all their stuff entails as far as the subscriptions go. But if you want to check it out, and if you do sign up, my promo code for that is Blessin. Or if you want to know more about it, just let me know. But let's see, they got a betting model. That's pretty cool. What is the FTN NFL betting model? Two-pronged tool, biggest edge. And yeah, with Kalshi, dude, I told them like, because I think they're trying to create content. I was like, I would do an NFL betting show for you guys. So I don't know if y'all would tap into that, but like that would be dope, dude. I love the NFL. So anyhow, I'm kind of getting sidetracked. Let me see if I can pull up some more notes that I had from my preview, my rough draft of my article, and kind of go through some of that. Let's see here. Load back up for me. Okay. Let's go all the way back up. So we hit the storylines, matchups. I'll go through matchups. We talked about Ursary versus Jared Verse. And then flip side, Hunter Anderson versus Jackson. Another one, Jalen Petrie, if he gets stuck in the slot against Devonta Adams. We saw it last year against the Jets. I've talked about with Petrie, he's like that star linebacker in the box safety. And, it's a risk DeMeco is willing to take by having basically an undersized linebacker as your slot whenever he is in there, which who knows, he may run more 4-3. But regardless, they like him there for his versatility. Like he's a force in the run game. He's great at covering short to intermediate, like outs and drags and stuff like that. Can cover tight ends, but he can get beat deep if he's in man coverage. And, he also provides like ability to, blitz and do stunts and twists from that position as well. But the big key is to avoid these ambiguous downs, which would be third and short, second and short, meaning as the defense, you don't know whether it's likely to be a run or a pass. So in the example last year against the Jets, it was 3rd and 2. We called a blitz. Petrie's in man on Devonta Adams. So there's a couple things. Is one, you're hoping the blitz gets home in time, and 2, you're hoping Petrie can cover for that long, which, I think he's obviously not the best at man coverage in the slot, but I think he's not as bad as people think. So, but it's also something too, is like DeMeco will take that risk of, okay, hopefully he's not in these ambiguous down situations in man coverage when we're trying to stop the run and, exploited. And then if he is, the rush gets home, because the other side of it is the more he's on the field, he's a disruptor. So that's a matchup to watch as well. Let me see if I can get back to some of my notes that I had. And so obviously communication will be key for the O-line, as it is always on the road. I know it's LA and it's not like a bunch of homegrown fans, but it should be loud. And then given the way, I believe it's Shula is the coordinator. Man, where is this? I had it. Okay. Yeah. So Chris Shula is the defensive coordinator. They run a 5-1 front, which is like a 3-3-5 variant. And so it's kind of unique, but, supposedly last year they ran a lot of cover 3 and cover 6. And that was cover 3 was almost 46% of their snaps last year. So if they run that again, cover 3, bring it on, bro. Like the too high shell is what killed us. But if you give CJ Stroud cover 3, he will dice that up. But they have a lot of disguises. So it's kind of like Flores in that sense, where it's a bunch of trickery. And that shit killed us last year, but we did better this preseason. So, they disguise more than usual, and they do a lot of rotation post snap. So they show one look, move here. And so that'll be big on CJ to read that, big on the O-line to sift through protections, who's got who, all that good stuff. So, and as we saw earlier, they blitz, so picking up blitzes. But yeah, so I think we'll be good there. I'm trying to see what else I had. I think I might have had a couple others, but yeah, be on the lookout. If you don't already, subscribe to my free newsletter at houstonstressens.com. And I will probably do a newsletter tomorrow, Friday, which will include this article, but I'll also post it. And that's real quick. It's, I'm just kind of rambling like always, but I'll just go to the timeline to get through some more stuff here. I think I'll kind of just work backwards on this one. Let's see if I can share my screen. X. Yep. And so, yeah, with the partnership with Kalshi, if you go to my page on the pinned post, we're partnering to give away a jersey. So if you repost this and follow them, you can win a CJ Stroud jersey. I also did a giveaway on my new 713 shirt the other day. And I got a couple other shirts, that I'll be doing a giveaway soon. This one I got to send to someone. Someone bought this. This is Standing on Business. CJ Stroud. Oh, I haven't released this one yet, but I'll probably release it tomorrow. We blessing or stressing on this. Anderson the Terminator. See that? Let me know what you'll think about that. I found a new design guy that's sick for shirts, but I'll be doing a giveaway on this one soon. I like that one a lot. And I got a couple more too. I got a Casario one coming. Let's see. I guess I'll show this one. This is why I really want Mixon back, because this one is dope. I'm not going to release it until he's back, because if he doesn't come back, it's going to suck. But Money Mix, bro. Look at that. Blessing or stressing on that one, huh? I think it's pretty sick. I could be wrong, but let me know. Let's see. Yeah, here's another version of it, a white one. But let me see here. Totally unintentional. I didn't plan on this. This is just I just had this shit on my chair. This is the new 713 shirt. The print on this one's a little smaller. It'll be bigger, but it's Kirk and CJ Stroud. So that's the one I did a giveaway on. So getting all that lined up. And so my goal with that is obviously, it puts a little money in my pocket. It's not a lot, honestly. I do it because I've always wanted shirts as a fan. So it's just something else for fans to wear. I feel like it's cool. So I'll probably do a giveaway on the Anderson shirt. Let's see. Yeah, we talked about the injury report with Noel and Barrios. Blake Fisher was also on there as a limited participant with his ankle injury. So let me share my screen. We'll buzz through the timeline, hit some good audio clips, and we'll get out of here in a bit. CJ Garner-Johnson today, video courtesy of Landry Locker, had a funny moment. Let's see right here.
Diagnose players with teammates. You can give them tips and stuff like that.
I don't know if you could hear that, but he was talking about being a veteran, helping young guys out, and he said giving them tips and stuff, and he said no diddy, and started laughing a little bit. So I thought that was funny. Yeah. So speaking of Devontae Adams, here's a video from Chancellor Johnson, who asked him about Devontae Adams.
That's the greatest route runner of all time, you ask me. I love Devontae Adams' game. It's probably going to be my second time actually playing against him, so hope I get his jersey.
Greatest route runner of all time. That's high praise right there. Astros are struggling. Let me know if they won today. Did they win? What else we got? Here's DeMeco today. He seemed kind of irritated today, and he's been irritated about the O-line. He's tired of answering questions every day about it. But again, you have to understand, yes, it may be annoying to you, but these are normal questions based off of last year, and this is kind of a problem from you. If the O-line was good last year, you wouldn't have to answer these questions. Like, I would probably be pissed off too, like him answering questions. But I think this is part him being tired of like constantly answering questions about it and like maybe people doubting the O line. Part him like, I don't know, like let's just find out. I think he's just ready to play football. So here's him on the O line.
It's been questions all offseason about our offensive line. Everybody wants to know who's going out there, who is this guy, this position, that position. It's just a lot of talk that quite frankly, I'm tired of talking about it. Like, it's time to go play, and let's see how our five matches up against a really great defensive line. And that's what we'll see on Sunday. Let's see how it all plays out.
He's I think now I watch it again, like he's tired of people scouring the O line. But again, like if you have to like also like I get it. Like I'm just gonna repeat myself and say the same shit. So, a lot of these topics, I'm like, I don't really know where I stand on that. Nico Collins, when was asked, I'm not sure who the reporter was, but he was asked that, like, when did he realize that Nico is always open, essentially? So here's his answer.
Notice, like, hey, this guy is always open.
From the first day I got here. Yeah, I thought I told him I'd be doing him a discourtesy if I didn't make him a superstar. It was one of our first conversations. I don't know. I've always kind of had that mindset since I've been in like middle school. It's like I want to make my receivers look really good and make it easy on them. For me, that's like anticipation, accuracy, timing, and because a lot of times guys are open, quarterbacks are just late or throw bad balls. So it's my job to do that. So I don't know. We had that conversation when I first got here, and I seen the way he moved, how big he was, how fast he was, and yeah, he looked like somebody like. I don't want to give y'all a word. I'll put it on Twitter or something, so I'll leave it alone.
You're talking about me, probably. Well, that's too late, though. He already called him our generation's Andre Johnson. But no, I mean, it's funny because my show with Nate Tice just the day before, or that same day maybe, we talked about both of these topics, both him and I both. One about Nico. He called him top 5. He has him as his offensive rookie or offensive player of the year prediction. And we talked about how there's very few of these X receivers that are that height, weight, speed, which all of them can be linear and run go, slants, and hitches. But very few can, move to the slot and also, work the middle of the field and have yak and all these things. And we also talked about how, basically he was overlooked partially because of quarterback play. I mean, there was a bunch of factors, but we also talked about too, like we were talking about Stroud and he was talking about like how, how impressive his arm is, even though it may not look like he's throwing the ball hard. But then we also talked about how he throws a catchable ball and like how he leaves receivers, hits them in stride, allows for yak. That's all the things he just said. Anticipation, like, and so like you look back, like, in hindsight, it's like, oh yeah, he's good because he had, Garrett Wilson, he had Ibuka, he had all these good receivers, but like he also is part of the reason why they're good. I mean, from me having played receiver prior, like you can be open all day. That's what he says, but the quarterback has to throw you the ball. And really in the NFL, you can be covered, quote unquote covered. But if the quarterback throws a good enough ball, 1, you can catch it, or 2, you can, score. I mean, yeah. So both those things we acknowledge. So that was good to hear. But that goes to show like he recognized this off jump and he made it happen. So that's dope to hear. So, yeah, the Astros won. Shout out Engineer, my guy. He says we're an O-line away from a Super Bowl, so deal with it, DeMeco LMAO. Yeah, right. And then Engineer said earlier, if Pop is really a Dante Scarnecchia disciple, he might have seen something in Ed Ingram that he knew he could fix. That's a good point. And that's stuff we don't know. Like, our scouting is like, oh, these Jags fans says this guy sucks. Or, I mean, maybe the guy did look bad, but, like, that's part of it too. Like, good programs can find value in guys that other teams don't value. That's your edge. And then JJ made a good point. Adams was getting locked up that whole game until that point too. RIP. Yeah, I mean, I think he had 1 catch on Kamari, but I wasn't as mad about that play on Petrie. And then Sugar, to be fair, Petrie got cooked within the first 2 seconds on that play. I'm not blaming the scheme for that. Petrie just had a really bad and costly rep there. Yeah, I mean, that's not scheme. That's more so like, I don't know if the blitz getting there or not might have mattered on that play, but to me, that's like you live and die by it. Like, that's a risk you're willing to take, and you just got caught in a bad position. And that's going to happen. Like good coordinators will, force those matchups. And then Henry Jack, do you think the Astros will have a chance to bring the city home a third World Series title? I still think so. It's been shaky, but the offense has been dog shit. But you know what I realized? The offense is way better when Yordan Alvarez is in it. Much better. He hits himself, but it opens things up. I mean, hopefully we figure stuff out. We got potentially Isak Paredes making it back. Jake Myers, underrated person to get back. Baseball's a long season, so Engineer calling 365-yard game by Stroud, 3 TDs. Man, I really think that it's just tough because we have like different ways we can attack, but like I just think we can really just open that bitch up and let him air it out, dude. That's who he is. He's a freaking gunslinger, man. Ethan Weber, do you think Barrios and Captain Kirk will be out this week? If so, who do you think will be returning punts and kickoffs? I don't know, but my guess is that hopefully it's precautionary. They both missed time earlier this season or earlier this camp with, hamstring injuries, resting them. But, punts, Jalen Knoll, and then kickoffs, Knoll and Pierce or even Dare. And then, yeah, so kind of caught back up on the chat. Let me see what else we got. Who else we got? JJ, the frustration on the O-line, I get it because I'm definitely tired of hearing national media and other outlets that aren't local talking about our team. First thing is the O-line is played out, man. Yeah, for sure. And like we've been saying, like, I mean, like I get like from like local media's perspective, like you just want to know who's where. Like, so yeah, you're trying to figure out the puzzle, but they're figuring it out too. But like, as far as like the other outsiders, like, hating on us, I agree. Bubble, I'm predicting Caley gets game ball after week 1. Hey, that's a good prediction. That's dope. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Great call, man. King Colby, if this O-line is average, then we have a good chance to be in the AFC Championship Super Bowl. Facts. We all agree with that, and I think we will. Brandon, if Bullock was 5 yards over to help Petrie instead of Lassiter, it might have been stopped. That is true. That's a good point. So there's a lot of little wrinkles to stuff like that. And it's just one play. We tend to, as fans, like see one play and assume this player is just ass. King Colby, Kaylee, definitely going to be locked in the first game. Facts. Henry, should the Astros sign 2 Japanese pitchers and catcher? Henry comes with the freaking questions, man. Should we sign 2 Japanese pitchers? No, I think we should sign 3. I don't know. Is there a specific Japanese pitcher, or you're just saying in general, like you like Japanese pitchers and catchers? I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know how to answer that one, but that's a very good question. And so DeMeco today was asked about tight ends and how they've improved. Here's his answer.
To the opener now, what stood out about your tight end group, and what do you want to see out of this group now that the new season comes?
Hey, great question, Randy. The thing that stood out the most about our tight end group is just them blocking at the line of scrimmage. I feel like there's a drastic difference in the way that they're blocking at the line of scrimmage, and it's markedly improved. And I'm excited to see that, excited to see it, again, in real action. But they've done a really nice job of working at that. Coach Moreland, Coach Caley has done a really good job of working with those guys. And also what stood out to me is also our tight ends, at the top of their routes. They've done a really nice job of really working to get open at the top of their routes, their break points. You can see a difference there. So I think our guys do better at the line of scrimmage and also better with their route running.
Coaching matters. Nick Caley, former tight ends coach. Now the tight ends are freaking good all of a sudden. Kate Stover having a leap. I mean, and Schultz, both in camp preseason. Like, you hear it and it matches with what you see. I projected and wondered too, like, gap scheme is going to help, obviously, the running game, but like it's better for the O lineman. But like, what if gap scheme is better for our tight ends to block in? So, and also too, we run a lot of inside zone, which is not gap scheme, but it's not out wide zone. And a lot of inside zone, you have the tight end run across the back of the formation. And that's where you see Cade Stover getting these head starts. He's much better on the move. Well, no shit, he's doing good. Yeah, it goes back to putting players in their best position to succeed, maximizing their skill sets. Hey, Cade Stover's good at this. Let's have him do that. I mean, shit, it's not rocket science. Hey, Dalton Schultz is better at an inline blocker as opposed to being split out wide and having to figure out who to block. Yeah, okay, have him just block the guy in front of him. And yeah, I agree at the top of the route too. They're definitely getting more separation. They named captains today. Dare was one. Nico was one. CJ was one. Aziz Alshire was one. And was it Will Anderson Jr.? The graphic will come up, but they were voted on by the team. Here's CJ talking about Matthew Stafford. Again, we kind of touched on this just a second ago, so let's play it.
I like his game. Yeah, I mean he does a good job of anticipation, no look throws, moving guys with his eyes, coverage recognition. I think he can put the ball in any spot at any time, from any arm angle. Does a good job with bad pockets is something I've watched too. So yeah, he does a lot of great things, and yeah, he's a really good player.
Yep, that's the eyes. Yeah, I don't know about the tight end. That'll be interesting to watch if they call somebody up from the practice squad. And so, yeah, if y'all care, here's what I predicted. My shocking one was I got Patriots as a 7 seed, and then Chargers 6. Yeah, y'all probably already seen it, but I'll just read the tweet. So when I did the predictions, Patriots sneak into the wild card. This is my outlier. Falcons win the NFC South. I'm very high on Michael Penix Jr. and Raheem Morris as a coach and defensive coordinator, defensive head coach, Zach Robinson. And then I have the Titans as the second best team in the AFC South. It's not saying much. I mean, I got them at 8 and 9, and I got the Jags and Colts not doing great. I mean, I'm not too high on them. Call me a hater, but it's just how I see it. And I think the Commanders regressed this year. I think we talked about it. And so, I mean, it's pretty cool. This PF Insight, you can choose every game and arrive at a record there. So, but yeah, Silas Bolden sign. We talked about that. And let's see what else we got. Yeah, so here's the captains. Yeah, so I got it right. Got a good memory. Those are all good captains. And then Nick Caserio was on 6:10 a.m. this morning. It's tough. He didn't get a lot of good info. But I have another clip I'll post tomorrow probably. But here is Caserio on the Davis Mills extension. So, yeah, we'll get to that. Davis Mills signed a 1-year, $7 or $8 million extension, making him the second highest paid backup. I thought it was a great move, but here's Caserio on that.
Like Davis that you've known for a long time, you have a relationship with him. Obviously there's a certain trust level for him to have re-upped.
So this was, a great question by Seth, basically asking, it's got to be tough for an elite, a good level backup quarterback. I would call Davis an elite backup quarterback. To want to try and start or figure out if you want to stay and be a backup. That's got to be a tough decision. And then, he's asking if you're open about talking about that, if he wants to be moved or if teams ask for it. So here's the answer on that.
With you a couple times already. Do you have explicit conversations about,
and shout out Seth Payne and Sean Pendergast,
potential trade opportunities or scenarios that, hey, if something comes up where there's a trade and it could be advantageous to both of us, that we're both open to it?
We're always open. Kind of how we operate is we'll listen, but in the end, we're going to make the decision that we feel is best for our organization. So I'd say Davis is a player that teams have asked about. He's certainly respected for what he provides and what he brings to the table around the league. So in the end, we're going to do what we feel is best for our team and just try to make good, smart decisions.
So basically, my takeaway was that teams have inquired about him, and we haven't traded him. So either that means probably two things. We value him a lot, and the offer is not as much to what we think. And, he had a great preseason training camp. So definitely, happy about that. And we had talked about too, there's Fromber acting a fool. That shit was crazy. We had talked about too, DeMeco Ryans. DeMeco, when asked about keeping Graham Mertz on the 53-man roster. And actually, me and Nate Tice talked about this too. So, I think he brought up a good point that I didn't really think about, but we're entering this phase of legit contender to where the whole team is good. And DeMeco, when talking about keeping Mertz, he's we value that position. We want good, solid guys that can run the offense And that, obviously you're not going to be as good as your starter in Stroud, but like guys that you feel comfortable in. Whereas like maybe if you're not as serious of a team, you don't really care to keep a bunch of quarterbacks on your roster. So, I said this last year and I still think it this year, and I guarantee you they think the same thing, but like we can still contend and win games with Mills if he were to have to be inserted, in my opinion. That's not saying that I think he's better than Stroud by any means. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying I think it's a great backup, and they seem to value those. So that's kind of like the logic on that. This commercial with Nico Collins and Will Anderson Jr. with HEB was hilarious.
So this is my best friend, Will, and he will let you guys know what his favorite dessert is from HEB. You guys better be nice.
What's up, guys? This is Will. This is my favorite dessert from the HEB bakery, the chocolate tres leches, and it's full of flavor, and it's chocolate.
Good too.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, Frommer is the Brock Osweiler of the Astros, but with better track record, says G. That's pretty funny. JJ, it's talking about Ethan says the Bills should be 15-3. I mean, the Bills are good, but I thought they were going to regress last year. I think I was kind of hating on Allen a little bit. Allen's still an elite quarterback, obviously. But I want to say that I don't know. I mean, I don't have to win 15 games, and I know their schedule is easy, and I'll have to go back through and look at the games that I picked them losing. But for the Bills, yeah, I mean, I think they have a handful of tough teams. We'll see how it shakes out. But like the NFL in general, man, it's just tough. Like it's a 8-8 league, Well, I guess now it's a 9-8 league. So they restructured Schultz's contract. That was just a move to get cap compliance. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, there's the Mills deal. So I had an article on that if you want to check it out. So like when I write articles, I try and like add stuff to it, like substance, like clips that are relevant. So it all kind of like flows pretty good. They did the beer prices for NFL stadiums. The Texans are $12.79 a beer. We had the let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, ninth most expensive beer in the league. Stressing. And then there's the Jared Verse clips. I mean, it's he's destroying guys, but he's like a bull rusher. So hopefully Ursary can handle that. But he'll definitely. But yeah, see, that was a game right there. So I mean, right off the bat, he basically pushes to the left tackle and then dips inside to the left guard, and the tackle whips around. But I mean, yeah, he just plays bully ball, bro. That was sick. Good Lord, dude. Okay, so he, stunts on the right tackle. Lane Johnson goes in, and he basically just blindsides the right guard, which might be Becton, and just freaking pancakes him. And then it turns up quarterback. That's crazy. So you're going to need to keep your head on a swivel. Like this, if you see him, you need to know where he's at, because he can come and just run you over. So he's just a bully ball guy. Look at this guy. Bully ball. Holy cow. But so if he does bully ball like that on left tackle, again, I am much more comfortable with pressure on the edge as opposed to the interior. So for me, that's fine. Like as long as it's not, too bad and CJ has time to feel for it and get out, it's obviously any pressure sucks, but that's his game, dude. He just bully balls it. But I think Ursary can handle that. He's got a lot of, junk in the trunk, so to speak. Another bully ball. But Caleb got out. I mean, that might have been a big play. Ooh, is that Cam Robinson or no? Or is that Darrishaw? Yeah. And I don't know if this whole thing is like all of his pressures or just one showing that, but like I'm sure he's got other things to his game, but like this obviously is, his biggest attribute. He just freaking strong arms you and bull rushes. That's crazy. Every one of them. There's no, I mean, it's impressive as hell. But I mean, it's hard double teaming them, chipping them. It's just crazy, dude. Every play just pushing the guy 5 yards back. Insane. Insane. And some of these guys are, not great. Some are really good. And obviously some of these plays, they're not all sacks. Some of these plays still go for gains. But yeah, dude. I mean, he was making some of those Eagles linemen look silly, which is crazy. But yeah, so this is baptism by fire. We'll see. I mean, Ursa, you're like, all right, you earned it. You're a high draft pick. We believe in you. Go get him. And I'm confident that he'll do decent. So scrolling back through. So let's see. Yeah, Will and Nico are dorks for that commercial. We need better on the beer prices. Yeah, and those are for 16-ounce beers, but still. Let's see here. Going through power rankings, whatever. And so let's see. Yeah, so I talked about this. I don't know if y'all care to hear that. Let me just scroll through a couple more. It's getting late. Here's some stuff. CJ was on a podcast with Greg Olson for Youth Inc. And here is him talking about how he self-taught himself quarterback in high school.
So, like, in high school for me, when nobody was watching, I used to watch a ton of Drew Brees, a ton of Drew Brees, a ton of Matt Ryan, a ton of guys who didn't really like play my type of playing style, just to like learn something new. So one thing that I learned from them was like play action, and like even though I was never under center in high school, I still worked on it when nobody was watching, because I seen it was being done at the highest level. Watched a ton of Brady, he did a lot of it, and then I would watch like some Michael Vick, some Deshaun Watson, some Cam Newton, some of the guys that kind of like the style that I wanted to play, and I would learn some things from them. And from them, I would say the things that stuck out from those type of guys were the instincts, where Brady, Breeze, Phillip Rivers, like Ben Roethlisberger's of the world, those guys necessarily didn't have the physical makeup or like the instinctual things. They were more so mental. Like they would process the game faster. They would see coverage. They would do those things. So like I took a step to learn that. And for me, it was playing Madden. Like I learned coverage from Madden. Like cover 2, hey, it's this. It's cover 4. It looks like this. And they're not a bunch of rules and guidelines in Madden, but like it taught me the base layer of coverage.
Yeah.
And then I would take it and watch YouTube videos and like try to learn that way. And then it grew in college to where then I met Adam, I met Taylor Kelly, I met John Beck, 3D QB, Tom House is people, and I started working with them. And then that took a step, and then I've been running with that ever since. And that was a process. Like first with them, everybody seen Dak doing the.
And that was a good interview. Like he kind of talked more than normal, and that you could tell he was excited about it. But I mean, it's pretty cool that he said that before. But basically, watched guys he wasn't like. So like just to have the wherewithal to like mentally like try and like improve your game, especially at that age. And then, also mentioning that he taught himself coverages through Madden, which is pretty dope. And then there's another clip from that same video. This is a funny one here. This is him talking about Kate Stover.
Then you throw in a guy like Kate Stover, my teammate at Ohio State now, my teammate at the Texans, a farmer, a guy who grew up on the farm, working with his dad, has his own meat company. Like, I ain't never seen cattle in my life. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just not.
No doubt. Neither have I. I grew up in New Jersey.
Right. So, like, but, like, the fact that we were still able to connect because, I don't think I've ever went up there, but I would buy his meat. I would, but I would buy, his merchandise. Like, I remember one time I had showed up
Good
with
rebound.
Stover Farms shirt, and he was like, bro, what the heck? Like, I'm like, nah, I just want to, like support. And it was just dope, you know what I mean? So, it's just that time spent, you know what I mean? And that understanding of trying to understand somebody, not for yourself, but for who they are, if that makes sense.
That's funny. But it was also cool too, though, like, they were talking about, how to be a leader and, get to know your teammates essentially. So that was cool to hear. And then this one was pretty cool. This is one of their clips. Let's see from the same.
As humans, we run away from uncomfortable situations and pain, but those are what breeds us to become better. So I think you hit on the nail is like pushing yourself to be uncomfortable. Like it was the most uncomfortable thing ever to go 2,000 miles away from home to Columbus, Ohio, where like it's nothing like where I'm from. But like you said, it's the best thing that could ever happen to me.
This week's episode with CJ.
All right, and here's DeMeco earlier in the week with the presser talking about Caley.
Do you remember about when you first were a coordinator, when you went from position coach to a coordinator, and how can you help Nick Caley calling his best?
Caley is ready to go. Caley's been through a ton of situations all through training camp, all through OTAs. We've been through a lot of different situations. All right, he's called a ton of plays throughout the offseason, throughout training camp, in the preseason games. He has reps on task, so he's ready to go.
LFG, yeah. Who cares about that first-time coordinator stuff? He's good, baby. All right, we'll finish up here. These are pretty funny. Finding Nico. These are fantasy teams. Nico DeGaio, Nickelodeon, in the Nico time. I thought that was pretty funny, but I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's good enough. That was fun. That was almost 2 hours. Been a while since we did it like that, but finding my groove on that. So be on the lookout for the article. Like I said, appreciate you guys again. Kelsey, feel free to check it out. Use the code HOU for $20 off. If you want to do the FTN fantasy as well, it's blessing. There's some other stuff too that I haven't quite utilized or whatever. But I'll probably start doing that. I'm kind of weary of like putting too much on you guys, 'cause I know I post a lot of everything. Like even the shirts, like, I try not to do it too much. I've thought about making a separate page for that. And then again, too, like clips on this, like there's a lot of stuff on here I'd like to like post, but I don't want to spam. Like I might make a separate account for like clips for the show. But anyhow, yeah. I feel good. I feel like we'll win. Appreciate you all tuning in, guys. Appreciate the interaction as always. I hate doing score predictions, or maybe I don't, but I also hate picking against the Texans. But I do think we can win, and I do think we will win. I do think it will be a close game, almost a coin flip game. I think they're a very good team. But I think it'll be a knockout, drag-out game. And it'll come down to red zone will be crucial too for both sides. And I say that we win 24-17. So with that being said, I'll see you guys